everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Everything was going fine in mine, you guys, until I started to get ready for this pod today. And I'm looking everywhere for my makeup bag, and I mean everywhere, everywhere, in every purse, in my car, in the trunk, I mean every drawer. I looked everywhere. And then I called work and I said, did I by chance leave my makeup bag under the desk? And they said, yeah, it's right here. And I'm telling you guys, every stitch of makeup that I have is in that bag. I don't even have like backups in a drawer somewhere. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. So the bottom line is you're getting me completely fresh-faced today. And honestly, we talk about personal development. This is a bit of personal development for me to be able to come here and reveal my entire face. I did find a lip gloss and a dried out mascara underneath the seat of my car, but I have nothing else. I have no makeup at all. And you guys can take a look and see what this Sjogren's does to my eyes. I mean, this entire orbital area just gets completely dark because it gets dried out because of the Sjogren's. But anyway, this is it. This is all I've got. This is how you're getting me today. And if you don't like it, close your eyes. Anyway, we have so much to get into, you guys. We have so much Teresa Louie juice you cannot even imagine. But before we get into it, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Now, you guys, there is so much to talk about. The Teresa, Louie, Melissa, Joe, Jen Aiden of it all, there's so much juice coming out of Jersey. You cannot even believe it. It's unbelievable. Okay, so just follow me here, okay? Because this timeline of events that has gone down the last few days is very interesting. So firstly, you have Jen Aiden, who launches her new TV Gold podcast, right? TV Gold, because that's what someone once called her, TV Gold. And I'm going to tell you, it is very clear after this first episode that nobody thinks that Jen Aiden is TV Gold more than Jen Aiden herself thinks that she is TV Gold. I mean, it is a lot. And I watched this episode of TV Gold the same way that I watched Turning the Tables, so you guys don't have to. And honestly, I don't want to talk shit about another person's podcast, but the fact of the matter is that she touted the fact that this podcast wasn't going to be about Housewives. But lo and behold, the very first guest that she had on was Teresa and Gia, no less. And all they did was talk Housewives. Jennifer says, listen, I know I'm not coming back, but I'm good with my time. She was so defensive without being defensive, but so defensive. She says, they don't call me. She did a lot of this, I don't know, I'm a gangster kind of thing. Teresa, they don't call me, but I know yous are getting the meetings with the higher ups. So she does a lot of acting. Because honestly, I think Jen wants to act. I really do. And honestly, maybe, Jen, why don't you get an agent? Go get yourself on the circuit, because I think that's where you truly want to be. But anyway, Jen then goes on to bring up the whole reconciliation issue. And Teresa tells her the story about how the cousins were at a party and saw each other. And then, one of them wanted to call the other one and they got emotional. And Teresa said that listening to that story made her emotional. And she's been touting this reconciliation, right, for weeks now. And then right after we hear that, we find out that the peace talk actually happened. The peace talk between Joe and Melissa and Teresa and Louie actually did happen for hours. They were at a restaurant close to their home. And apparently everything went well and they left it in a good spot, which in all reality needed to happen for the sake of Teresa's financial future. Her and Louie needed to be very amiable with Melissa and Joe. I mean, they have to make this work or else they're just shit out of luck. So then everything suddenly shifted and things were looking hopeful for the whole situation, for Teresa's re-entry. And it was beginning to look much more promising for Teresa than it had been in months. And just when you start to think that there might be a peaceful path forward for the family, for the show, a new video from Screwy Louie hits the airwaves, you guys, and it is a doozy. It is a wild and ranting Louie verbally assaulting the shit out of whoever he's directing this video to. And I'm personally assuming it's Vanessa, his ex, who he has been going after incessantly in the courts up until he recently withdrew his case, you guys. He recently dropped the case against her. Now follow me here because the timing of this thing is bananas. Here's my theory. As we all know, for the last couple of months, Teresa has been preaching about peace. Teresa says she just wants peace. She wants peace with her brother, and we all know that she wants and needs a piece of that Housewives pie. But she's got Louie, who is a professional at making headlines for all the wrong reasons. And Bravo doesn't want any part of that. Bravo doesn't want to have to carry Teresa's marital baggage. And if Louie is still dragging his ex through court, it just makes him look like more of a liability. So I'm assuming that is the real reason that Louie dropped that suit against Vanessa. Because the truth is, the suit itself made him look like even more of a lunatic. I mean, we all know that Louie's been laying low, and it's because he's been trying to clean up his image. Because a better image of Louie means a better chance of Teresa getting back on the show, which looked to be exactly the way things were trending after it was reported that those peace talks went so well. But now we have this little gem of a video thanks to Bravo Boo. Thank you, Bravo Boo, because I've laughed. I have laughed. I have laughed. Holy shit, I have laughed. It goes something like this. No one out there is gonna tell me what to do the way you tell me. You deliver things with an iron fist, bitch. That's why you get it back verbally to you. I don't fucking care. I'm pissed. Fucking angry. I watch my children bleed in anger and pain. I watch them scream and cry. They go to school and I go to their bed and grab their pillow. As I sit here alone dealing with all this shit while you made yourself important and everything about you. Fuck you. Fuck you! I swear to God, if it was legal, I'd go over there right now and I'd take my 9-iron. I have no idea what you've done to me. You've crossed my path and you've insulted me. You've degraded me. And I mean, you guys, it's bad. It is so bad. It's crazy time. I mean, it's insane, you guys. You have to go look at it. It is completely unhinged. Which for Louie or anyone is not a good look. Definitely not the kind of look that Bravo wants to get back in bed with. And now I'm just wondering, what about BravoCon? Is Louie going to be standing beside Teresa? Are they currently having an emergency powwow right now to try and figure out how to deal with this? I mean, because somebody's going to ask the question, and who's going to answer it? Who? We know Teresa's not qualified, and who? Louie? I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Louie's going to be standing by her side, or is he going to be staying in the room? Comment below. I want to hear what you think about this. Insane. Go watch that video. I mean, good luck to you guys. I don't know how you're going to explain this one. And if whoever dropped this did it just to remind the world exactly who Louie Ruelas really is, point made and point taken. But I want to hear what you guys think. Comment below and let me know. All right, everybody, we're going to head on over to Reality Check. But before we do, I wanted to talk to you guys about something because it matters. As you know, I have Sjogren's disease and lupus, so hydration and my health go hand in hand. For me, choosing the cleanest, healthiest water isn't optional. It's vital, which is exactly why I started using Epic water filters. They remove the things that don't belong in our bodies. PFAs, chlorine, microplastics, other junk, all while keeping the minerals that our body actually needs. And it tastes the way water is supposed to taste. Clean, fresh, and pure. You've put your body through enough, so fuel it with something that actually loves you back. Choose clean, choose better, choose Epic. And use my link below for 15% off your order with code Jenerally15. Okay, starting over in Potomac, you guys. The show opens up with Ashley saying to Stacey, so my homegirl told me that you were hitting her up to set you up with Chris Samuels. And Stacey says, oh, I adore Chris Samuels. He is a wonderful man and a great father. We are good friends. And I think that the fact that both of us went through a divorce and the fact that we have a lot of mutual friends. And Ashley says, well, you know, he's telling people about it too, Stacey. And Stacey says, well, of course he is. Wouldn't you tell everyone if I was trying to date you? Angel says, we know Chris. He was actually my husband's mentor. Ashley turns to Stacey and says, well, we haven't had an answer, Stacey. What's the answer? And she says, I am back with my husband. And then Gizelle asks her, well, have you met Monique? And she says, no, I have not. But maybe someday I will. Stacey says, you guys really just can't accept me for who I am. It's just unbelievable. And Angel says, I can relate to that, Stacey. Then they're done for dinner. They all go back to somebody's room where they have a birthday cake and a little birthday setup for Wendy. They all sing happy birthday, but before they can cut the cake, Kiarna says, I'm out of here. She says, I'm not feeling good, and she slips out. But there's clearly an energy surrounding her exit. Once she's gone, the rest of the gang all decide to play truth or drink, or I don't know, something like that. Ashley asks Wendy if she's ever been sexually attracted to another woman, and Wendy says, yes, a stripper with braces. And then Tia says, well, I wish I'd gotten that question because I've always had this wild, raging crush on Rachel Maddow. And then that dingling Stacey responds with, well, isn't she a lesbian? Rachel Maddow, yeah. Yes, she is, Stacey. Are you with us? Then Wendy asks Angel who she would kill, and she says, in this moment, Gizelle. because she called me a fucking catfish. And at this point, Angel was feeling herself and all of the girls were feeling her. Then they all decided to call it a night, but not before saying that they were all so glad that they came back and decided to extend the evening and that they were all able to have this much fun together. The next morning, Kiarna greets Angel with a cocktail and tells her it's going to be a better day today. And she says, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I'm just so disappointed in Gizelle. And right at that moment, Gizelle comes walking through the door. Knockety knock, knockety knock. She says, good morning, ladies. And Kiarna says, good morning. We were just discussing you. And to be honest, it wasn't nice. Gizelle says, okay. Kiarna says, I'm going to go. And then Angel walks over and she grabs a paper towel. And as soon as she starts dabbing her face with it, Gizelle says, are you crying? And she says, yes. And at that moment, Gizelle just panics. Gizelle says, oh, no, 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 no. This is a new day. And by no means did I want to hurt you. And then Angel goes on to say, I just felt so disrespected by you. And this whole thing is surrounding the way that Gizelle called her out the day before about her fake Instagram persona, right? Or persona, or just it wasn't a persona, but whoever that face was that didn't match her real face, that's what we're talking about. Angel says, I looked at you as a big sister, and I really thought you'd be more understanding. Angel says, I used to work the red carpet, and my looks were my currency. Gizelle says, I get it. I've been there. I had 3 kids back to back. I can relate. All I was really trying to say to you is that you are beautiful. But the beautiful that I see in front of me isn't the person or the beautiful that I was looking at. I'm just wondering where the disconnect is. That's just not who I was seeing on social media. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I really am sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Angel says, thanks for apologizing. And Gizelle says, can I give you a hug? And Angel says, no, not yet. Gizelle asks her if she wants to walk over to breakfast with her. And she says, no, I'm going to hang back. I'll be there in a few minutes. And then to camera, Gizelle says, for the record, I was not body shaming her because the picture that I was referring to was only of her face. Then the girls are all gathering out at a cabana, and once Gizelle gets there, she starts talking to Kiarna about what had happened back in that room, and Kiarna tells her, yeah, she was really upset and crying a lot last night, and all the rest of the girls were like, Angel was crying last night. What was she upset about? They're just completely confused. Tia says, it's funny because I thought we were moving past everything. So why did she wake up this way after the way we went to bed last night? She says everything was great when she left. So what happened between then and now? Why are we not moving on? Why are we choosing to stay in it? And it's a great question, Tia. It is a very great question. And then Wendy wonders out loud why it always feels like the same 2 people. Why do they always seem like the 2 sad sisters? Angel finally gets to breakfast and Kiarna says, Gizelle told me that she apologized to you. Is that true? And she says, she did. And I appreciate the apology and I'll leave it at that. And it's a weird vibe. I'm sorry. It's just a weird vibe. It's just, I'm not into it. Ashley asks if she checked in at home and she says, oh yeah, Bobby was so mad. I mean, he was ready to hop a jet. He was going to charter a plane to come and get me out of here. Then the girls go to visit the home of Alexander Hamilton, and along the way they get serenaded by their tour guide, Kenny. He sings to them a little story about a pretty little island, and Nevis is where he's from. Anyway, they take this home tour, and I have to admit, I actually learned some shit, which was, bonus. Then Tia asks Angel if she's feeling any better today, and she says, well, yeah, I'm fine, it's a new day. And she says, and I also wanted to make something clear with you guys. I'm not an OG wag just because Bobby played 10 years. I'm an OG wag because I put in the work to really welcome the women who came after me. And I'll do that with you ladies too. But then Jaxie pipes up and she says, I'm just confused because last night you were so bubbly and fun. And it kind of feels like your energy shifts when you're around Kay. And she says, I wasn't bubbly, I was annoyed. And Jaxie says, you were annoyed last night when you were high-fiving us and laughing? And then to camera, Jaxie says, I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know who she talked to between last night and this morning. And then boom, they flash back to a very upbeat Angel arriving back to the room where she found a very annoyed Kiarna just waiting to bring her down. And it very clearly worked. And then Jazzy says to camera, I'm just confused. We all thought it had blown over. So maybe catfish in the personality too? I don't know. Then we're over at the PPP, the Pink Pussy Palace, where everybody knows how to have fun. Wendy dials down on the dirt that she's really after, and she says, we were really starting to get somewhere yesterday with Gizelle and her love life until Ashley slipped in and saved the day for her. And Ashley says, well, Stacey was really pointing the finger at her. And Stacey says, well, yeah, because you all have been pointing the finger at me since the day I arrived on scene. And Ashley says, well, yeah, that's only because you're lying. And Stacey says, oh, yeah, well, Gizelle's lying because she has a man. And Tia says, Gizelle doesn't have a man. She has a mission. And Gizelle says, that's right, Tia, but you, Stacey, you lie about Chris Samuels. And right at that moment, Wendy recognizes the distraction tactic that Gizelle's trying to employ, and she switches it right up. She says, no, we're not going to talk about Chris Samuels. Let's stay right here on Sean Springs. I think that's his name. Wendy says to camera, it is so fun to watch Gizelle squirm. She says, we never get her in the hot seat, so I'm taking over this operation. She says, I'm going to be the lead investigator, and I'm just once again thinking, Wendy, foreshadowing lead investigators. She should have thought like one a little sooner. Gizelle goes on to tell the girls that before her dad died, he told her that she needed to find a man that fit like a comfortable shoe. And Wendy says, well, how does the shoe fit? Did you all have sex? And Gizelle says, I don't know what you're talking about. Which I just have to say, word for word would have been my exact response. And then Wendy says, okay, I have one more question, because this question will tell me everything I need to know. Has he met your daughters? And Gizelle says, I'm not talking anymore. Wendy says, well, the one thing I know about Gizelle is that she protects her heart. And as someone who knows her and now definitely considers her a friend, and when Gizelle hears that, you could tell she was touched. Wendy says, I'm happy for you. And once again, Gizelle was me. She goes, oh, Wendy, shut up. But Wendy goes on to say, no, seriously. And whether you want to admit it or not, you are happy. And that makes me happy. And then Gizelle says to camera, okay, Wendy, I guess we are friends. Then all the girls grab some grub. And as Angel sits down, she says, oh, I'm really having a good day. My baby just sent me some money so I can go shopping. Everybody goes, oh, he did? And she goes, oh, yeah. He just dropped me a cool 5 Gs so I can buy some stuff in town. And then they all load into the bus to head into town. But as soon as Wendy sits down, she starts feeling shitty. They arrive to the village where they're supposed to do this shopping, and they're not there for 2 minutes before Wendy needs to go sit down again. And at this point, she is starting to feel shittier by the second, which sucks on any day, let alone when you're on vacation on a tropical island. Then while the other girls are shopping, Angel says, oh, I just texted Bobby the word sex because, well, I'm teeing him up because it has to go down when we get back. And then Stacey says, I wonder what Timu, what's his name? Timu, I think. Anyway, she says, what would he do if I just texted him the word sex? So she texts her husband, ex-husband, whatever, and he texts her back, I think you have the wrong number. And at this point, all the girls are embarrassed for her, and she's going, oh, he's just not used to this. I've never texted him like that. What? Then the girls play steel drums, and even Wendy makes her way up so she can bang a drum or two. And then it's time for all the girls to go out to dinner. They get there and they are greeted by Mr. Sunshine himself, who dropped off some potent killer bees to get the party started. Meanwhile, a very sick Wendy was back in her room dining on goldfish and ginger ale. Gizelle then tells Kay that Wendy was actually offended by the fact that she ditched out on her birthday party so early the night before. Everybody asks her why she really left, and she says, well, honestly, I was just tired and a little offended for my friend. And Ashley says, well, you know what? I actually think it's a really good thing that Angel stayed because we all ended up having a really good time together. And Tia says, yeah, everything ended on a really great night and everybody was echoing the same sentiment. But then Jassy turns to Angel and says, but I'm confused because you told me earlier that you weren't having a good time. And when everybody else at the table hears that, they're like, what? You said you weren't having a good time? And she says, it was cool, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I was still feeling things from the dinner before. She says, I slept on it. And Stacey says, and then what? You woke up and decided that you're pissed? And she says, yeah. But that's what happens, right? Last night, she was in a good space. She was moving forward. Her spirit was moving forward. Somatically, she was moving forward. She was in a good space. And then she went back. She started talking with Kiarna. Her mind got in the way. And then she woke up pissed off again. And that's why people never make progress, because their mind makes a mess of things. And Tia pipes up and says, well, truthfully, I would want someone to tell me if my pictures look like that. And Jazzy turns to her and says, well, I'll tell you what, you do filter your pictures a lot. Kiarna says, well, thanks for telling me, Gizelle. And then she turns her attention to Jazzy. who she clearly has beef with. And then we end up hearing out of her own lips that the real reason why she's not cool with Jazzy is because last season she was really tight with Jazzy and she really cared about Jazzy. And she says that she was really putting a lot of effort into forging a real relationship with her. And then she heard that Jazzy called her a snake. And clearly, instead of talking to her about it, she just bottled it up, and here we are. And now, you guys, we are crossing over to Salt Lake City, which I have to say, what an absolutely amazing episode this was. I mean, I don't even know, like, how do you even express how good this was? I mean, so good. This was as good as Louie is Crazy, right? So the show opens up and it is still the crossover, you guys. It is still the below deck crossover, which honestly, I wish they were all crossovers, honestly. The show opens up and Bronwyn is waking up on the Lido deck, which is where she slept because she didn't want to be stuck in that room with that bat Brittany. Heather wakes up not remembering exactly what went down the night before, but Whitney assures her that she went at Lisa like a baller. And then they flash back to Heather going at Lisa almost as hard as she went on Monica with the timelines, receipts, and all that shit. Heather and Whitney are both waking up and wondering exactly what version of Lisa they're gonna get today. Back in Lisa's room, she's going on about the night before and going on to Meredith about how she's not a good friend and she didn't defend her enough. And Meredith says, oh, please, Lisa, I'm the only one that's defending you. Back on the deck, Bronwyn's gathering up all of her sleeping stuff, her blanket, her pillow, and explaining that neither her nor Brittany really wanted to be rooming together, especially now that Brittany's pissed off at Bronwyn for exposing the fact that Brittany was talking shit about Meredith. The rest of the girls all begin to congregate, and then Lisa just bounces out like Tigger and like nothing happened the night before. And instantly the tension rises. Suddenly there are eggshells everywhere, and everybody's like, I'm out of here. I gotta go do this. Oh, I think I gotta go do this. Everybody leaves except Brittany and Lisa. They stay back so they can talk shit about Bronwyn, who was really only a few feet away and can hear everything that they're saying. When Brittany asks Lisa if she's talked to Heather yet, she says, what happened with Heather last night is not okay. Meanwhile, Angie is suddenly feeling much better, thank God. They all think that she's over this sickness, but I was just kind of wondering, do you get over seasickness? Do you just wake up and then it's gone? Or maybe could she have been sick just separately and it just coincided with getting on this boat? You know, like what if she would have been barfing even if she was on land? I mean, I don't know. I just didn't know what to think about that. It reminded me of those people, you know, that get sick and then they blame the fact that they had Taco Bell at lunch when really it wasn't the Taco Bell. They were just sick. I don't know. Maybe that's just how seasickness works on some people. I've only gotten seasick once, but I mean, that presents questions too. I mean, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. After the girls all pulled that disappearing act and walked away from Lisa and Brittany, they ended up running into Bronwyn, who's still upstairs on that Lido deck, listening to all the shit that Lisa and Bronwyn have been saying since the other girls walked away. Then all the girls gather around the breakfast table, and then Brittany walks in wearing my grandmother's Afghan. She cut it in two. Did you guys see that? Was that your grandmother's Afghan too? I did not like that outfit at all. It was too weird for me. Heather tells them all that they're going to be spending a beautiful day on an island, which Angie is very happy to hear. Heather tells Mary that she was a very good friend to Angie the night before. And then Bronwyn turns to her and says, Mary, since you're such a good friend, do you think it would be okay for me to come and sleep with you guys tonight? And Mary, no. Two's company. Three's a crowd. And then Brittany says, oh, relax, Bronwyn. You can sleep with me. I'm not going to hurt you. And Bronwyn says, I don't really want to sleep in that room. I don't want to sleep in a bed that you may have brought a crew member into. And Brittany says, what did you say? And Bronwyn said, well, last time I saw you up here, you were trying to get a crew member to go downstairs with you. And then they flash back to Brittany kind of trying to seal the deal with Captain Jason, who we all know she had her eye on since she boarded the boat. And then Meredith says, well, we did see Captain Jason coming out of your room last night. And then they flash back and they show footage of Captain Jason going to Brittany's room. He walks in and she's literally wearing a bra and panties and complaining that her room was too hot. Lisa says to everybody, oh, stop it. Don't pile on people. Don't pile on her. Captain Jason doesn't want her. She says, right, Daisy? Right? I mean, back me up here, Daisy. And Bronwyn says, oh, come on, Lisa. Don't pile on people. Really? But it's okay for you to pile on me? I mean, I can't even sit outside without hearing you talking shit about me, calling me a snake, bringing up my daughter's grandparents again, even after we sat down and you promised me that they were off limits? And then Angie doubles down on it and says, yeah, Lisa, give me a break. Just like a couple weeks ago when you were talking shit about Todd, when you covered your mouth with your hair and you said, Todd was making out with one of your friends while farting the entire time. What? Making out with your friend while farting the entire time? Somebody stop the presses, please. And then Angie says, yeah, you said it the night that we were at your club. Lisa looks at her and says, I did not say that it was one of my friends. And Bronwyn says, you have got to be kidding me. And Angie says, no, she did. And then Angie goes on to describe when it happened, where it happened, how it happened. And then Bronwyn pipes way up and she looks Lisa straight in the eyes and says, did you say that Todd made out with one of your friends? And Lisa looks at her and says, it wasn't one of my friends. But you said he made out with someone? And when Lisa's face reads guilty, 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 Bronwyn says, fuck you, you're dead to me. And then to camera, Lisa says, I grew up in New York. I know a lot of people. And this came from someone that I believe and trust. Then to camera, the scene of the show happens. And Mary and her eyes say, if someone told me that my husband was making out with someone and farting, I don't know which one I'd be more devastated about. I mean, both of it is just embarrassing. And then his intestines. What's wrong with his intestines? Mary says, oh my God, something's wrong. And I swear to you, you guys, I can't tell you how many times I watched it. I mean, countless. I spent way too much time watching that scene. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Mary Cosby. Honestly, she makes me laugh so much. I feel like really, I really thank you, Mary Cosby. I mean, I'm telling you, Mary's monologue about making out and farting, it's instant classic. Instant. Then to camera, Bronwyn says, I should have known this was coming because Todd knew this was coming. Lisa got exactly what she wanted. She wanted to get under my skin and she wanted to hurt my family. And I'm beginning to realize that there's no way that I can be in a room with Lisa and not become someone that I'm not proud of. And then she says, but what would make Lisa most mad right now is if I just had a good time. So I'm going to go have the best time. And then they all head out to an island. And literally when Angie landed, she kissed the ground or the sand. You know what I mean. And then she apologized to Bronwyn for not defending her more. Brittany and Heather snorkel. Meredith and Lisa get into it again. And when Mary agrees that Meredith doesn't really stick up for Lisa enough, Meredith says, oh, whatever, Mary. What do you want me to do? Cartwheels or something? And Mary says, I don't care what you do. You're not a good friend. Go jump in the ocean. I think you're boring. You're a snooze. You bore me. And then when Heather finds herself having a blast with Bronwyn, she says, I really can't believe I'm having so much fun with her. I think I was just so committed to being annoyed by her that I couldn't see how great she really is. She says, and honestly, I'm a little embarrassed that I was being so stubborn. Then one of the stews arranges a relay race drinking game, which instantly shifted the energy and the girls fully got into it. So much so that Brittany ended up face planting in the sand. Team Whitney won and they all headed back to the boat to get ready for their zombie dinner. Once they get back to the boat, Angie does what I have never seen a below deck guest ever do. She asked one of the male stews if he would go get a blow dryer to do her own hair, to do her hair. She's a stylist, mind you. And then while Angie's waiting for this blowout to begin, Bronwyn comes in, tells her that she needs to go up to Heather's room to drop off a nail file, and asks her if she wants to go with her in those inflatable costumes that she brought. So Angie decides that she's up for it, and the two of them wrangle themselves into these costumes. And on the way out the door, they're laughing and having a great time until the door slams on Angie's hand. And holy hell, you guys, it was bad. Angie literally collapses in pain, screaming that type of blood-curdling scream that only happens when it's really bad. And it was bad. There were broken fingers, ripped off fingernails, blood, lots of blood. I mean, poor Angie, this is just not her trip. She needs to go home now. Then the girls transform themselves into zombies. And why zombies, you might ask? According to Heather, it's because they love to dig up dirt on each other and they love to resurrect old fights from the grave. The girls all get to the graveyard table and then they start ordering some bloody drinks. The topic of calling home comes up and Heather says, I haven't. I actually turned my phone off. And Bronwyn says, well, I did. I called Todd and Gwen and they obviously weren't happy about what I reported. And Heather says, what? You you told them about the making out and the farting thing? And she says, of course I did. Why should I be ashamed to say it? I'm not the one that made it up. Then she says, Todd just doesn't understand why he constantly seems to be the punching bag here. Why anyone's spouse would be the punching bag here. And I agree. She says, I just really feel like Todd and Gwen should be off limits here. I just think that's something that Lisa isn't able to commit to. And then Lisa says, as of today, I will never bring them up in any capacity. I will never bring them up, and I am very sorry that I hurt their feelings and your feelings. Bronwyn silently shakes her head, and then to camera she says, I hear Lisa's words, but honestly, they mean nothing. Then just as the crew is bringing out the main course, the boat starts rocking. Heather says, wow, do you guys feel this? This is crazy. And then Brittany suddenly gets up and goes and barfs over the side of the boat. And then as soon as she gets back, she starts sipping on tequila. And Meredith's head starts spinning. She goes, why would you drink tequila after you just threw up? And Brittany says, because I'm trying to feel better. What do you care? And Meredith says, is there anyone at this table who thinks that this is a good idea? And I mean, at this point, the girls have been drinking since morning. They've been in the sun, they've been in the water, they've been on the sand, and now they're back on this boat and it's rocking and rolling. So at this point, everybody is a little shaky. Heather says, who cares? Let her drink. And Whitney says, it's the hair of the dog. And Heather goes, hair of the dog. Ruff, ruff. Meredith says, I would say that to my daughter. I would say that to anyone because I am a human, not because I care. And then Brittany says, you know what I'm actually concerned about? Something I saw on TikTok. And Lisa says, what is it? And she says, well, it's something that I saw on TikTok today about Seth's possible indiscretion. Everybody goes, what? What are you saying, Brittany? And she continues and she says, Seth's having a mistress. And then they flash to an unseen scene that happened earlier where Brittany is showing Whitney a TikTok of a girl that was telling a story about her friend who was an Uber driver who was driving Seth and his mistress, apparently. And then Meredith, trying to keep her cool, turns and says, my husband does not have a mistress. We are in a monogamous marriage, and just because your boyfriend constantly breaks up with you, that is your problem, not mine. Meredith says, you are a liar and a malicious, despicable person. And you know what I'm not interested in? You trying to interfere in my relationship just because you're jealous that you can't hold a man down. And Brittany goes, what, have you not seen it? It's all over TikTok. Whitney says, I've seen it. Then to camera, Meredith says, I don't even know why she's talking about me. I don't know why she's talking about my marriage. I don't know why she's talking about my husband. She needs to start focusing on her own misery because she is a miserable, miserable bitch. Then the crew delivers dessert and Captain Jason attempts to join the girls. But the tensions are so high that the poor guy hightails it right out of there before any of them even really clocked the fact that he was sitting with them. And then Heather says, well, would you look at that? You guys chased him away from the table. And Whitney says, I know, that's our friend. And Lisa says, yeah, that was embarrassing. And Heather says, yeah, but at least this zombie ice cream cake is delicious. And what an episode, you guys. Honestly, I wish they could keep them cooped up on that boat for a month. That would be the show. Holy shit, that's the show. That's also the show. To keep them in close quarters longer, then they really get whacked out. I mean, imagine how bonkers they'd go if they were stuck on that boat a little bit longer. Hilarious. Anyway, you guys, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a comment. We would love that. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. And if you'd like to get your hands on some of this adorable Generally Speaking merch, I will leave the link down below. All right, everybody, I have loved spending this time with you. Thank you so much for being here. And until we're together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. We'll see you next time.